Next question is from Nikki MK Fit. What are some tips for coming out of contest prep or deep, strict deficit to regulate hunger hormones without binging on all the foods?
I mean, I think the mistake that people make, and this is not just contest prep diets, but this is just diets in general, is they set goals for like, oh, I'm going to Vegas, or oh, I have a show, and they diet real strict, and then the day after the show or the day after Vegas or whatever they were dieting for, they just like come unhinged. I think it's super common.
And doesn't that make ghrelin and everything go just?
Oh yeah. And so the thing is that I always taught it like, you don't look at the Vegas trip or the show as the end of the diet. A good habit to have is extend the diet 2 weeks later and then allow the event that you were getting ready for, whether it be Vegas, a weekend, or a contest, as like, okay, so maybe that day you allow yourself to drink, eat, do your thing, whatever after this contest or Vegas, but then you are still on the diet for an extended, 2 weeks, at least that afterwards, where you're reversing out of what you just
you're not just full stop getting out of it.
Yeah, you're not going. And by the way, if you've done like contest people, like if you've dieted really hard for an extended period of time and you have 1 day or 2 days even of eating a lot of calories, you're not gonna do that much damage. You're not gonna put on that much body fat in that short period of time. I mean, of course you can. I know people are gonna jump on me for that. For the most part, you won't. And then you have the next 2 weeks after that, kind of still on a diet where I would have, remember I told you guys the last 2 or 3 weeks is I would start to do cardio. I would be at the lowest calories. And so as I would come out of the prep, I would, the first thing I would do is add some calories. I wouldn't completely reduce all the cardio. And then I would cut back a little bit on the cardio and then add a little bit more calories and then cut back a little bit more. And you just slowly you
back out slowly.
Yeah. Step out. The same way you kind of stepped in, you step out in that same type of cadence until you are at a place where you don't have to feel like you're restricted and you don't feel like you're doing tons of cardio.
I also think your expectations can really have a big impact. Like, okay, you just did a contest. Because the question here is about contest prep. The few weeks before a contest, getting ready for a contest are nothing. They're not healthy at all. It's an unhealthy process. You're getting super shredded. You're restricting yourself beyond what would be considered normal, both mentally and physically. You show up on stage and you just, again, it's a poor health presentation that maybe looks good for a particular contest. So your expectations should be afterwards you're going to have crazy hunger. It would be like if you were locked in a cell and starved. Yeah. You're going to have really strong hunger feelings, stronger than you've probably ever felt before. Now, why am I saying that? Because if you expect that, I think you can probably handle it better than if you're like, oh my God, and overwhelmed by it, and I don't have this contest to control myself for, so now what do I do type of deal. So I think getting comfortable with the idea that after your show, you're going to feel hunger like you've never felt before, and you're just going to have to kind of deal with it.
There's an easy strategy for this if you're willing to stay disciplined, and that simply is don't allow yourself to go bananas on the processed foods. That's where it gets really difficult. If you came out of a contest and you were a client of mine and you stuck to whole foods, and just I don't care how much you eat. Yeah. Go eat. You're hungry? Eat. Hungry again?
What a great point.
Eat.
Otherwise, you're compounding on top of everything with the processed
You'll
foods.
Be fine. You literally will. Where these competitors get in trouble, and you see it all over the internet. Yeah. They plan
Krispy
for it.
Kreme donuts.
Oh, dude, they set up. I mean, weeks in advance. Many of these athletes,
literally,
they already have their post-show stuff.
I'm not surprised.
And I'm talking, it's like boxes of Oreo cookies and Pop-Tarts and a dozen of donuts.
Bro, it's
and
disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, they have it all mapped. And of course, you're gonna overeat and binge that stuff because you keep eating it. It makes you hungrier. Where if I told that same person, okay, none of that bullshit, but if you were hungry, go have yourself a steak, go have potatoes, but put cheese on it, enjoy. I mean, go, as long as it's whole foods.
Yeah, you're right.
Go to town.
Because otherwise you're not only you've starved yourself for the show, so you're going to be hungry, but then you're going to throw on top of all of that
hyper palatable
foods that are engineered to make you overeat. So it's like this like tornado, this perfect storm.
Novelty everywhere that you just can keep.
Dude, I trained a girl that literally post show, and she was tiny. She was like 110 pounds. post show, the 2 months following gained 27 pounds, something like
Oh,
that.
bro, I've seen that done in like 2 weeks on little girls.
Wow.
I've seen
That's
20, 30
impressive.
pounds go on bikini competitors in 2 weeks.
It's crazy.
yeah. No, it's
It is crazy how fast they can throw that.
well,
weight
it's
back.
so what's
and the body's absorbing it because it was starved.
what's dangerous and why I
Shows
think
you
it
how
gets out of
deprived
control
they are.
so much is it's deceiving because they eat like that for the first 2 days and they actually look better and they feel better
'cause they're
and they look
healthy,
better.
yeah.
Like everything is better. Like they were so depleted, they were so unhealthy going into it.
Yeah.
Their body was starving of anything, and then they feed it like all this shit, and the body
So you
just
feel like
sucks all.
invincible at that
Oh
point.
yeah, so you're like, oh man, actually that didn't even
Yeah.
do any damage. I feel better, I feel good, and so then you just justify doing that. So my simple
So you've
advice.
seen people gain that much in 2 weeks?
Oh yeah.
wow.
Oh yeah. No, I've seen it out of control, man. So I mean, and to be honest, you got to remember one, a lot of that's water weight, right? So they put on probably 5 pounds plus of water weight alone, and then they probably needed 5 or 10 pounds of body fat put on them because of how unhealthy.
Just imagine the aftermath of all that. It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
sitting on the can. Look at this.
Well, you know what?
painful.
Actually, what's really weird is because
your figure competitor.
you're
life.
so
Just
deprived.
light it up.
You're so deprived. You actually don't get that until a while later.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like things that
Your
was
body
just,
just absorbs
uses
it.
Yeah.
yeah,
All the
because it's like
nutrients
I mean, you're so depleted that it just it
a
sucks up.
sponge.
It sucks
You're like
up
the leader of
everything.
North Korea. You don't even
And
poop.
your metabolism, because you built all this muscle over a show and everything like that, is so roaring. And on top of that too, so it's like it just powers through the first day or two of that. But yeah, I mean, if you literally just said just made a rule, and here, by the way, it doesn't mean there's not like a middle ground here too. It doesn't mean like you can't go like, hey,
No, you need to gain weight.
gonna go
after.
ham.
right, the
little-
day of the show, like go ahead, go have your In-N-Out burgers and fries, maybe have some processed food, enjoy yourself for right after the show, and take a deep breath. You discipline yourself that long, but then the very next day, get right back to Whole Foods,
Yeah.
and then don't
Don't
put a
extend
limiter
your
on it.
treat.
You don't have to weigh and measure anymore. Just eat Whole Foods and let your body like naturally regulate itself, and I guarantee you will not put on 20 pounds.
No,
like that.
you're not going to overeat to nearly the same extent.
No.
with
No, not if you
steak, potato, fruit, vegetables. It's not going to
No,
happen.
chips, Pop-Tarts, donuts, ice cream,
Oh, yeah, you're going
pizza. Yeah, that's all going to do
Yeah,
it to
you're
you.
going. You never seen the pictures that these people will post, Justin?
No, I haven't.
Well, they'll
I mean,
literally
if Doug
post
were
a
to
picture
Google right now, post-show food for competitors, I guarantee there's all kinds
No.
of
But
viral
what's
posts.
crazy is what Adam said is that they'll
Weeks.
post. Yes, they'll be like,
Weeks.
"Oh, I can't wait to eat all this," and it's like 3 weeks before the show, and they'll have like a big room or something. They've already prepped. They've already got everything that they want.
It was a thing where competitors would be like talking
Gross.
way in advance of the show, and they just keep compiling stuff like, "Oh, I didn't think about that."
buns.
Oh, I didn't think. And then they just start, and then they'll post a picture of like all this stuff that they're going to consume afterwards.
What was
Just
your?
Orgy of food.
In-N-Out?
It was just in and out.
Yeah, and I do the I think one of them I did like 3 or 4 of those, and then also Cinnabon one time. Cinnabon I crushed in Vegas after
Has anybody felt good after eating one of those?
A Cinnabon.
I mean that I did after that I had 4 of them. I had 4 of those.
I mean, they're
1,500
delicious.
calorie suckers.
Oh my God.
You
in
get
one setting.
diabetes?
Yeah, immediate.
I only so
Insulin coma.
I experienced this the very first show. I did go off the rails, and I didn't come out of the diet. So all the advice I'm giving, I also did the other side too. So I know I've been on the dark side too, right? Of just eating like an asshole afterwards. And and then I would say I ended up after 6 shows later somewhere in the middle where it's like I'm gonna have my In-N-Out, I'm gonna enjoy that night or whatever like that, and like those calories would, and then I just the next day I'd be back to training and back to Whole Foods, and then but all I would do is just not limit it. I wouldn't be weighing anymore. I wouldn't be eating out of Tupperware. I'd just be like, hey, steak, rice, eggs, potatoes, just as much of it as I wanted, as long as I stayed
I
away
could
from
see
all
how
the
that'd be
bullshit.
real dysfunctional for most people. You have a pretty good discipline with that, like switching to one thing and then the other. But like, to be in that mindset for so long of like restriction and like that must be really hard for people to
That's
break.
why I never exaggerated that to you guys when that blew my mind that there were more eating disorders and dysfunction around food in the competitive bodybuilding world than there ever was. And I've tried
Not even close.
every eating disorder, and we specialize in obese people. That's what we dealt with.
It's not even close.
Not even close.
No.
They have way worse. And it's the irony of it is nobody thinks that because we put them on these pedestals because of their bodies on
And
Instagram.
they must really understand how to eat right. No, they don't.
Apparently not.
Look, if you like Mind Pump, head over to mindpumpfree.com and check out our free guides. We can help you with almost any health or fitness goal, and they're totally free. Again, mindpumpfree.com. You can also find all of us on social media. So Justin is on Instagram at mindpumpjustin. I'm back on Instagram at MindPumpDeStefano, and Adam is on Instagram at MindPumpAdam.